Not only did I get the chance to drive a race car for my first time, but I did it while one of the best drivers' cars was out on track at the same time. This NLS was probably one of the most historic moments in era shifts for the Nürburgring. With some of the best drivers on track, I was allowed to drive an M240i Cup Car at the NLS practice. A childhood dream for me that finally became reality. With around 120 cars, it is probably one of the most difficult endurance series in the entire world. Now, not only do these drivers drive their race in multi-class, but also on the hardest track in the world. However, a week ago I was still at the Nürburgring and I wanted to prepare myself to get the experience of what a wet track feels like. And I had my PS4S on, the Michelin tires, and yep, they were coming alive. Since the weather here is changing drastically, I really wanted to get at least a little bit of experience to what it feels like to drive on a certainly damp track. And I mean, the Nordschleife is probably the heaviest place for you to get used to conditions like that. However, I was quite surprised by how good the PS4S Michelin tires felt on the Nürburgring. Even on these 19-inch wheels, everything felt really good. Like, I had a few moments here and there, but it felt very safe, very planted, and it was overall a pretty chill ride. This lap sort of took a little bit more fear from me from conditions like this. So, this time we're gonna drive something else than just my car. However, it's still fairly similar to my car. Still very different, but you will see what I mean when I show it to you. Time to drive an actual race car this time, so yeah. Okay, can you hold it? We will be going to do some driving today, so I'm really excited. That's alright. Pop the trunk. And then let's go. Not only does the Nürburgring have zero room for errors,
BMW M240i Klasse gab's harte fights.
but this grid also has zero mercy if you are scared or show fear. Now, if you're a sim racer, you kinda are treating people on the track fairly nicely most of the time. Like, we drive very clean. If you look how people drive here or at any series, I think most of you also know that it's way more rowdy, way more door-to-door banging, way more pushing people out and squeezing yourself in there. And it's insane to see this happen at exactly this track, because this track has zero room for errors. Therefore, you are challenging the track, and while challenging the track and driving the most difficult track in the world, you also drive against drivers who are racing you hard, and they have no mercy for you. Now, if all of that pressure from insane speed demons sharing the same track as me on a practice session wasn't already enough, this weekend Max Verstappen did his first official GT3 race on the Nordschleife. Now, when it all started, there was no way that I thought he would cross me somehow on track, or that Chris was gonna cross me on track. I thought I was just gonna drive there and they closed it off or something, but nope. You will see later in the video that was not going to be the case. And look at all of these people at the grid walk. It was great to see, because I think the NLS really deserves more people to watch the series. It's a great series. Now for us, it was time to thank the one man who made this possible for me, along with another man besides him, which is Tim Heinemann. Thank you so much, Tim, for giving me this opportunity. I nearly didn't see the fist bump, but there you go. And also Phil. Misha, Danny, Luke, you guys made the day so awesome, so thank you for that. And overall for me, it was just an honor to witness this historic moment at the Nürburgring, because this will open up so many new things for the Nürburgring, the NLS, and the 24-hour race. Now, these will be the cars that we will be driving, an M240i Cup Car. It's a very aggressive diff that's inside there, I can tell you that. And that was also what I was scared about, because I never drove a race car with a limited slip differential that was set up fairly aggressively in the wet or while it was damp. So yeah, I was fairly scared of that. However, time to get into my race suit and time to send it.
The starting number is already the fitting one. Number one is...
Yeah?
For us, it's number one, yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to destroy the winning car.
No, would be. Good start into the weekend.
No, please not. Alright. And for me, the tension was rising. Not only was I gonna deal with a complete new experience of driving, because there's way more components in this car that makes it a race car, but also I had to deal with GT3 traffic, TCR traffic, GT4 traffic, Porsche Cup traffic on a track. And I'll be honest, the excitement was definitely numbing the nervousness and anxiety and fear. But while I was sitting in the car, everything around me started to disappear, and I just wanted to enjoy this one moment. And here we finally go, here we take off, finally going onto the Nürburgring GP, my first lap in a race car, in the M240i Cup Car, going into T1. For me, this first outlap was all about just getting to know the car, getting to know the track condition, where is it wet, where is it dry, where can I send it. Luckily, I just needed one lap to get really used to the car. It felt still fairly familiar to my platform, just on steroids, but there was nothing that was holding me back anymore. I felt comfortable, so it was time to send it. Listen to the sound of the car and the whine just go. Some parts of the track were still wet, and especially on the ideal line in some corners, you couldn't just accelerate out like usually. You had to be a tiny bit careful on the throttle. We were also on semi-slick, so that made it a tiny bit harder to get it down on the wet. But yeah, back on the main straight, and guys, just listen to this. Here I gave the instructor a little heart attack. He thought I missed the braking point, he told me, but then saw I was getting into the apex and said, never mind, you know that the car has good brakes. This sector sort of felt the worst. The car was very tail happy, always wanted to go a little bit sideways, especially braking now into that awkward sector that I also can't nail on the sim. Here the car went a little bit loose, and I didn't even give it a lot of throttle, so that's an indication for you how tail happy this car in this condition actually was. Now accelerating out, and we have the short layout on the GP track, which has another fairly awkward turn, but it can flow fairly nice. This usually opens up for, you know, the entrance on these last few turns into the actual Nordschleife. However, we will only be on the Nürburgring GP here. Braking very hard here, trail braking in. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to trail brake the car, however, I did it anyways. Now going onto this long back straight with the nice turn and accelerating out here, going wide on exit, taking all of the momentum and taking all the speed that you can now for this flat out turn. And while coming out of this flat out turn, I was being flashed by a mysterious Ferrari. And could it be the one and only? I kid you not, I was myself when I saw that livery in my mirror. Imagine just the headlines if, you know, you as a absolute noob crash out the hero car of the day. Anyways, back on the main straight. Now, I was completely confident at this point. I had zero fear, which I don't know if it's a good thing. I still, however, had a conscious decision that I made, which was getting the car back safe, because I was not driving for any competition. But an instructor just left the pit, and to me, this was a good benchmark to see how close I can keep the car with, you know, the confidence I had at that point, which was getting more and more. And we were getting stuck a little bit in traffic here. However, after that, I tried my best to keep up as good as I can. Now, braking in here, I was a tiny bit terrified of accelerating here because of how loose the car gets here. But getting out here, I was about to go very wide on exit, which I do on the sim as well. Not an off track yet, I think. Then accelerating and braking a little bit later this time, as you can see as well. But here I lose a tiny bit of speed because I'm way too safe through here. Accelerating out wide and then accelerating, seeing that I lose quite a little bit of time to him. And here trail braking as well, which now I see that that also cost me a little bit of time. and trying to get the momentum through here back on this back straight to the kink over there. And to be honest, for me, I was quite happy that I was able to keep up like that. I saw that there was a GT4 coming up in the rearview mirror, so I knew that I had to brake early here again, which the same as I did with the Verstappen car. Let him go by, and this was sadly already the last lap. But however, what an experience this was. When I entered the pit, the instructor said he rarely has this much fun, and he said the performance that I just did under wet conditions was what most people here don't even do in the dry on slicks. So I was very happy with that, also very happy to make the instructor happy. Just a happy day, and I was driving very slow in the pit just to take all the time in the car. I was quite surprised with how much the sim actually helped me, but not just in terms of, oh, I can learn the track and everything, but I jumped into the car, and after just one lap, everything just felt so familiar to me, which is insane. It's not just that, but it also just shows to myself that, in my opinion, so for me, I have not a lot of track time, right? I lapped the Nürburgring a few times, the Nordschleife, I do my Touristenfahrten, but I really never really step on track, especially with race cars. I have my club sport built here, but I've never sat in a race car. In my opinion, when I just jumped in after just a lap, and not really knowing Nürburgring GP that much from the sim as well, I did a few laps there, I already felt pretty much at home. So to me, after a lap, it started to feel like I was in a sim. Now, that can be a good and a bad thing, because you have to remember you're in real life, and you have to, you pull yourself down sometimes and remind yourself. But it was insane to me how close the sim is to real racing, and everything from the bumps on the track to the reaction the car gives you when it's oversteering, to the braking points, to how you brake into the turn was just mind-blowing to me. And that just proves, right? If you look at the grid currently yourself, we had Jan Mardenborough there, we have Jimmy Broadbent, we have Steve Alvarez Brown there, we have Max Verstappen with Chris Lalham, right? And Tim Heinemann. And all these guys, they come from sim racing, and they're sim racers. And some of these sim racers on the track, they've never raced in any racing series before. So they just get thrown into this only with their sim racing experience, right? And that's insane to me. Now, if you look back 6 years, 5 to 6 years, how it was scoffed at, and it's still being scoffed at, but this should be a proof that it's just, this can actually help you to get around the track and to also know how the car feels, what spot to take flat out. Now, don't always trust the sim with 100%, right? But for me, like the first time I went onto this turn, the flat out turn at the GP track, it felt exactly like on iRacing, despite the extreme G-forces. You have, I don't want to say you have no fear, but yeah, it's like you knew what to do anyways, right? So you just did it. And that to me is just insane. Yesterday, the layout we were driving, it's a shortened GP track layout. Or do they drive? Yeah, they drive the very short layout. So yeah, and then they go into the Nordschleife, and that's where the real fun begins.
Fun facts with Danny. So, tire warmers on the tire actually are banned on the NLS, but teams are not stupid. So they have these heating tents, and in each of the tent is one tire set together with rims. And initially the thought is that they heat up the whole rim and tire for a certain degree, matching the track temperature and the overall settings of the race, then put it on early onto the car. And the good thing is, instead of tire heaters, is actually the rim is also very hot then, so maybe 80, 90 degrees depending on how they do that. And if you put tire heaters off, the tire is cooling out. But with the hot rim, the tire stays actually warm, so it comes onto the car, it's still warm, and they can go very fast, very early compared to tire heaters, which are obviously banned. Yeah, so that's why we have all the heating elements here and all the kind of big tents with tires.
Thank you, Danny, for explaining. Now, we were able to get to witness something which I think is gonna be very historic in the history of the entire Nürburgring, which is crazy because it was 100 years of Nürburgring and this happened. And I think there's about to be some stuff happening around here which is gonna change a lot of things for the Nürburgring overall. We got to see the 4-time champion and one of the, if not the best driver currently in the world, do his race here and perform not only average, but of course, like he always does, he would win the race. And for us to see this, and for me to see this, was very special, because I always said, this guy, he jumps into a car and he can just drive anything. You give him a skateboard, he's gonna drive the skateboard around the track really quick. And to me, those are the real talented drivers. You jump into anything that drives and you just focus on moving around the track quick, and the quickest way possible, quicker than everyone else. And he showed it yet again that he was able to do this in a GT3 Ferrari by Emil Frey. Emil Frey, I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm sorry. Great times are upon us here, because I think this is gonna cause a big change in competition. It's gonna put way more focus now on NLS and the 24-hour race. It's only doing us a favor. And it's just great to see this, that he was not too, stuck up. He did his permit, he was humble, he did all of that stuff. Not like some other drivers who wanted to come here and drive here, they didn't do the permit. He just did it, he respected that. And he respects the place. He even speaks German, which surprised me. And yeah, this was the first time for me to see him myself. It was great to see him on the podium here the very first time. And yeah, guys, not only for the Nürburgring, but for us, there's a lot of stuff coming up as well. So keep updated, drop a like, subscribe, and support the channel if you want to. And yeah, guys, see you in the next video. Bye bye.
You don't gotta tell me I'm the truth.